your girl.
What is up, you guys? It's your girl Ashley Janae, and I am back with another video. I'm dropping videos back to make up for my absences. But without further ado, let's get started. Now, I feel like somebody needs to hear these messages because I usually try to stay away from relationship topics, but it's just been on my heart to kind of talk about it. So here we are, right? So just because something feels better does not mean that it's your final stop. Just because something feels better does not mean that it's your final stop. Just because something feels better does not mean that it's your final stop. There is both a positive and negative example of this. What do you mean, Ashley? I'm glad you asked. Let's get started. I'm first going to start with the negative aspect. Sometimes you're not stuck in a situation. You just settled because it felt better than the next thing. Better does not always equal right. Okay, sometimes something can feel like progress because of past trauma, because of past difficulties that you have gone through that make the next thing that's a step up in safety, a step up in a feeling of relief and stability seem like it's something that you want to keep, but in actuality, no. I'm going to give you guys a really brief example. At one point, I was talking to somebody. It was a very one-sided situation. It was definitely unrequited. I withdrew. I removed myself. I focused on myself. Soon after my healing journey, I met a person, right? And he had very strong, attractive energy. And he definitely was much different than that past person that I had to retreat from, right? He showered me with gifts. He took me out. He did a lot of things for me. He made a lot of time for me. You know, he would show up and he would do these things, but he still would have manipulative tactics. He still would try to verbally abuse me and put me down and make me feel bad, right? But then he would do these things and shower me with these gifts and just all the things that I never had in the previous situation, to where I kind of held on. Not really even that long. It was like a couple months, to be honest. All that trauma in a couple months. But that's a story for another day. But anyways, it was something that I felt that I wanted to hold on to at the time, because when I met him, I was like, wow, I'm doing so much better for myself. I got someone that's willing to do X, Y, and Z. That this is definitely a step up for me. But when I was going through a lot of that verbal abuse and stuff, I realized like, okay, this feels like a step up, but it's not. You know what I'm saying? It's a step up in one sense, but it's not completely a step up because I'm still settling. There are still things that I'm putting up with that I don't like and don't have to deal with. You know what I'm saying? And that's very important that we understand that sometimes just because something feels like a step up doesn't necessarily mean that it's our final stop. You know, sometimes a situation will come to us that's a little bit better because it may be a test to see, okay, well, if the person does a little bit of X, Y, and Z, have you still learned a lesson to leave when you see these type of signs, right? So that could be one thing, right? Or sometimes you get a situation that just shows you, you know, you can raise your standards in one area. You know what I'm saying? So that's an example of a negative aspect. Now I kind of want to go on to the positive aspect of just because something is better doesn't mean that it's the final stop. So not all types of people that we attract that are better come with toxicity, like the example that I gave you. Sometimes the people are cool people. Sometimes they're great people, right? But some people and situations, you guys, are seasonal blessings, okay? Sometimes it's not something that's always meant to stick. Sometimes it's not something that's always meant to stay. Sometimes the person is there to show you that better exists and that you can keep going and that you can keep pushing. And I second that message, because if you can attract something that was better than what you had, that is a telltale sign that you are on the right track, and you will be getting that person, place, thing, whatever it may be that you are wanting to attract. Keep pushing, keep going by those standards, keep pushing, okay? And like I said, sometimes it is an eye-opener to see that you can raise your standards. Sometimes when you experience something, it'll have you go, you know what? Heck yeah, that's definitely something that I want to put into my standards for when I continue searching or when I continue attracting people. That's something that I want. That's the way that I want to be treated, right? Like in my example, I like people that are going to make a lot of time to spend with me, people that are going to go out of their way and just court well and different things like that. I feel like sometimes we have to know that when we meet people that are better than what we had, but they may not be 100%, you don't have to settle. You know what I'm saying? That person can be placed in a different category if that's how you see fit. But also it is a proof of progress, like I said, you know, because if anything, that's the telltale sign, like I said, that you are on the right track, but it does not mean permanence. Okay. Sometimes we confuse better with permanence, or like, okay, well, this is something I definitely want because it's better. No, because it's better, but it's not the best. It's not exactly what you need. Okay. I feel like healing seasons don't always equal long-term alignment. Like I said, sometimes you will attract that person that is simply meant to just come in, you know, show you better exist or whatever the case is that you need. And, you know, God is like, keep going. It kind of reminds me of that picture where the person has a tiny teddy bear behind their back, or no, when a person is carrying the tiny teddy bear and God is hiding a really big teddy bear behind his back, and he's asking the person for that teddy bear, and they're just like, no way, Jose. And the whole time they didn't know what was in store. I kind of see this to be synonymous in a sense, because I feel like sometimes little gems are dropped that you're on that way to that bigger teddy bear. But if you don't want to let go, if you want to stay stuck in something that felt better, but you know that you deserve better than that too, then that's definitely, you know, up to you. But anyways, so my point is, something can be good for your growth and still not be something that's meant to be forever. Just because something is not toxic and it's better, but it's not toxic, but it could be better, does not mean that this is your final destination either. You know, sometimes it's just the proof is in the pudding, right? And I think that sometimes when we're afraid to let go and we're afraid to follow, you know, the signs that are leading to the bigger teddy bear, we're only blocking and delaying our own blessings. Because at the end of the day, like I said, there's always something bigger and better in store. If you can attract better in any sense, you can do even better. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes we don't all get it right off the bat after a situation. Sometimes you got to kiss a couple princes, or no, you got to kiss a couple frogs to get to your prince, your princess, however you want to identify it, right? Sometimes that's our journey. We don't all get to be the Sierra and go from the one to boom, you know, and that's okay too. But I think that the bigger thing that I want to emphasize here is that sometimes we have to learn how to appreciate the lessons, honor the growth that comes with the situations, and ultimately just keep it pushing. You know, sometimes something is better, but it's an experience. Have fun with it. Allow yourself to flow. Allow yourself to get what you can get out of that, and just keep it pushing. Anyways, if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to drop them in the chat. Other than that, that is all that I have for you guys today. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Mwah.